You just made that up? Did you just make that up?
Don't stop my flow, Vin. Don't stop my flow. I'm in poet mode. I'm not saying this is all bad, by the way. I'm not in a negative mood today, you'll be glad to hear.
Right.
But they are certainly worth, well, because look how self-congratulatory you are. We're in a jolly good mood.
Of course. We've had so many wins today that we've given I've awarded so many medals to myself.
Aren't they? Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to get you the Nobel by the time this is over.
Our world model has us as heroes, doesn't it?
Oh my God. Well, isn't that that's the point of marketing, to make you look like the hero of your own story?
Amen
yes.
to that. This is what people don't realise with product marketing. They don't realise that. Make the listener the hero. That's the key, folks.
Yes.
Stop talking about yourselves. I want to be the hero in the story, then I'll buy your stuff.
You're a hero. You're our hero anyway. Now check out certifications on data and AI strategy, product strategy, and leadership. Take 10% off with the coupon code PODCAST because your magnificence deserves a discount.
Well, welcome back. Diving right in, we got a new segment. We're going to be talking about the recent events from this week in AI. I keep getting asked, how do I keep up? How do I keep up? Well, now this podcast is going to be one of those things you can use to keep up.
Yep.
So let me kick off. I think the flow works if I kick this off because we've got a couple of good back and forth ones. And the first one I wanted to kick off was something I saw yesterday, which was a stat where Microsoft Copilot just surpassed 79 million downloads of its app. That sounds big until you realize that ChatGPT has been downloaded 900 million times.
Wow.
It's like, wah, wah, wah. You got I got to edit in the trombone sound right there. Google's Gemini app, 200 million times. So also yesterday, what ends up happening is OpenAI chooses GCP, Google Cloud Platform.
What's that about?
As its cloud provider, not Azure. I mean, there is drama happening in this partnership, and I think we're watching in real time the evaporation of this partnership. I've got another one later. I mean, this isn't even all the drama. There is more drama when it comes to all of the competitive forces between these two. Microsoft has launched its agentic product. You're about to talk about the competitor to that. So it's really interesting to watch. The Microsoft OpenAI partnership is evaporating in front of us, and they're both, it seems like, even though Microsoft will never not have its agentic and generative AI wagon hooked to OpenAI, and OpenAI will never be loose of the Microsoft anchor, it seems like the two are drifting into being direct competitors, especially when it comes to the consumer market, and it appears very soon the enterprise space as well.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but that sort of tension that's been bubbling has been there for quite a while. I know, obviously, when Sam Altman got kicked out, and then there's this big frenetic activity, from the head of Microsoft and what have you. But ever since then, there's just, I don't know, there's been signs. So we're going to see it rupture. We really are.
It's been fun to watch. I mean, if nothing else, this makes for great viewing, great content and material.
Rubbernecking. Rubbernecking. This is what this is.
Wait, I'm supposed to be driving forward here.
I wanted to bring this up, not really because I was surprised at OpenAI launching an agent capability. I feel that they have to do that. What I was shocked with was the Altman phrasing. My goodness, I've never seen such an anti-swagger from Altman. Basically,
He's
it
been
was.
knocked down a few pegs, hasn't he?
I mean, what happened here? The essence was this can book your life, but maybe don't let it, which was fabulously said. And let me just quote him. Let me quote him here. I would explain this to my family as cutting edge and experimental, a chance to try the future, but not something I'd yet use for high stake uses with a lot of personal information. Now, this is so unlike him. He knows just how dangerous and exploitable this is. We've not figured out the security in the agentic space at all.
No.
I put up a post that just sort of described a future scenario where somebody in the enterprise has made an agent, probably without permission, that's connected to a workflow within the enterprise, connected to data. They've left or forgotten all about it. There's a search engine from my hacker days called Shodan, and what it did is it just goes out and looks for forgotten domains and forgotten servers and stuff like that. And every time you hear of a very high sophisticated hack of an enterprise, it's usually just a forgotten server. And we're going to see this with agents. And I mean, imagine, and the only way
Yeah.
to give these things power is to give them godlike privileges over all of our data and applications. And imagine when
Yep.
they get hacked and hijacked, and they know that. But I was very, very surprised to see that phraseology. He doesn't normally take that route. So it just shows how cautious they are.
Well, it's smart to be cautious. Sticking with the OpenAI theme. So there's been this open source back and forth, right? OpenAI just delayed its open source model. It said safety concerns, sort of, the new conservative, Sam Altman, super intelligence. We'll have it next week, but it may destroy the world. So they've pushed back their open source release. Meta reportedly yesterday, this came out, they're reconsidering their open source strategy, and their behemoth model is potentially on the chopping block, where they may not be releasing this at all in the future. They may be pivoting completely to a closed AI. So OpenAI is now closed AI. Meta, which seemed like it was going to take up the mantle of OpenAI, is now closing its AI. There's some whisperings that X will also go closed, and has some people say they already have, but that's sort of speculation. Meanwhile, you've got China releasing models, almost it feels like every month, that are all open source, all openly available. Anybody can pick them up and download them. There's definitely some indications that these models are comparable to open source models that are coming out of, or used to be coming out of US labs. And you wonder where, with the US going backward in open source, and it seems like China is jumping forward and taking the lead and saying, no, just use ours. But there are, some lingering concerns there with Chinese models, and not only accuracy, but something we'll talk about later, the latent worldview that lives underneath these models and how these models are trained. There's definitely question marks around it. But it seems like open source in the US, open source AI at least, is taking some pretty significant steps backwards because there's just so much money on the table. So the future of marketplaces like Hugging Face begins to come under question. If it's driven entirely by non-US, well, US models have up and until now been best in class, best in breed. Does that mean open source is always going to be several steps behind?
Yeah, I'm going to say something that's controversial. It's not my opinion necessarily, but it's what you hear whispers of in secret places. And it's from the European vantage. Obviously, AI and technical sovereignty is kind of literally gone to the forefront of people's minds because of what they see as US political activity that perhaps they don't feel so comfortable with. Okay.
We are not a political country at all. I don't know where you
No.
got that from. That's
Okay.
false news.
Yeah.
Fake news.
Yeah. Fake news. Yeah. Oh, I'm just a spreader of fake news. Somebody said to me, "I love the way that you put research papers up, but if you were misrepresenting them, you could be the biggest spreader of fake news on earth, and nobody would really know because they never read the papers." I thought that gives me a lot of power, doesn't it? Anyway, that
You
aside,
should. You should write your own paper. That's maybe next week. We'll write our own
absolutely.
paper.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see the new one
Vibe research.
from the universities, which was
Yeah.
just entitled "Machine BS"?
Yeah.
That was
Well,
fabulous. That was. But anyway,
yeah,
where
I'm not
was
going
I?
to say it. I was about to say something that would have gotten me in a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
no, no, no.
It's trying to tread that fine line, isn't it? The
Yep.
question came up. Getting back to the point, the question came up: is it so bad to trust Chinese models over US models? And I was shocked to hear this vocalized in a fairly auspicious place, because it's kind of like, now, in terms of US AI dominance, I think that's indisputable. I mean, personally, and of course, there is the worry of, because the great thing about open source, of course, is that you can have control. But of course, even if you download off Hugging Face, you don't necessarily know what might be inside that code. And there has
Yep.
been a lot of examples of that. Kind of malicious activity. So there are those concerns and espionage concerns, and obviously, as we said last week, the swaying effect these things can have on decision making. So it'd be very interesting to juxtaposition those two. But equally, I read a research paper that actually pitched ChatGPT or GBT against DeepSeek and found that actually, in terms of what we would consider a world model, they were remarkably similar. Which kind of isn't
Almost like they were
surprising.
trained from the
Exactly.
same. Never mind. Sorry, I shouldn't say
Exactly.
that.
It was funny because, like, sometimes I'll see somebody have a viral post on one of these big consultancies that have released, a shiny glossary sort of piece on agents or AI, and this was extremely positive, and it was all about agent adoption is up in the enterprise. And I thought, well, I'll take a closer look at that to find that actually it was quite down, not adoption, but trust. This is the juxtaposition that we have with this technology, where adoption can go up and trust can go down at exactly the same time. And also within it, it was about full autonomy was a big no from enterprises. And I'm really, really pleased. Now, they're saying only 4% of processes are expected to be handled by fully autonomous agents over the next 3 to 4 years. So we're starting.
4%.
Yeah,
Wow.
4%. So we're starting to see some realism creep in. 43% of executives a year ago said they trusted fully autonomous agents, now down to 27%. We're getting to see some realism, okay? And this isn't a failure of technology, let me say that. This is a correction in expectations. This isn't about a collapse, but kind of
Yes.
reckoning. People are waking up to the fact that agents don't need to replace people to be useful. And all this talk, and it's referenced in the same Capgemini report, all of this talk of autonomy is just creating fear, rightly so, in the employees. So, it's kind of like, I just felt there was a lovely dose of realism that's beginning to creep in. And that just made me feel quite heartened. And perhaps we're going to see that more generally, and I hope so.
Well, does that mean people are listening to us? I mean, does that mean the pragmatists
Wouldn't
are
that be
winning?
lovely? Wouldn't that be
That'd be
lovely?
nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pragmatism
Yeah.
wins in the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of pragmatism, we've had Pat Gelsinger. I was reminded Pat Gelsinger was the first person to lose his CEO job due to the failure to deliver on an AI hype cycle or AI promises that he was making. And now we're looking at Tim Cook's under fire. I mean, and under significant fire, rightly so, because it's been, sort of Apple's overpromised and it has underdelivered in AI. And so you're seeing it went from the hardware, which was the first big beneficiary, where all the the Nvidias and TSMCs of the world, they were the first beneficiaries, and you saw the first fatality come up in the hardware world, where Intel CEO got taken out. Apple's Tim Cook is under fire now. So now we're seeing big tech. It's moved into the software, sort of that next consumer and business facing layer where you've got Microsoft, Salesforce, Amazon, Google, Apple. They're all playing sort of in this space to dominate that part of the AI market. And it looks like Tim Cook's under fire. I'm hearing a lot about Andy Jassy having some really tough questions leveled his direction because the Alexa rollout has not been successful.
No.
We haven't seen AI move the needle for Amazon Prime very much. We're not looking at, outside of AWS, which is definitely taking advantage of the opportunity, and they're selling, more compute than they have in some cases. So AWS is definitely winning on this because they're leveraging their traditional dominance. But he's under fire because they haven't been able to really deliver anything that's competitive with what Google and what Microsoft have. And there's a worry that GCP will start taking market share away from AWS in this new really, really lucrative AI workload space and AI inferencing, especially inference space. So I think we're going to start seeing in big tech CEOs maybe losing their jobs. And I keep referencing this, but we've seen more CEO departures
Yep.
in the last year and a half, now almost going on 2 years, than any time back to the Great Recession of 2008, 2009. So this is really canary in the coal mine for more traditional industries. Next year, CEOs, it seems like there's this sort of 1 year to get, trickle down, I guess, trickle down, not quite economics anymore, but trickle down CEO departures, where a failure to execute on your AI strategy, a failure to deliver on your AI action plan, all of these things, if shareholders aren't seeing P&L, top and bottom line
Yeah.
impacts from AI, if you're not competitive, and all it takes is one, I think this is what most companies fail to realize. You don't have to have the entire industry adopting. If one competitor is successful with their AI initiatives, that's enough for the rest of a domain, the rest of a market, rest of really an industry to start feeling a lot of pressure to deliver, or you'll start seeing high profile CEO departures in these non-big tech companies next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you've been mentioning, and I've said for quite a while now, we're seeing this pressure on the CEOs from the
Yeah.
boards. That ties really nicely in with something that I was going to talk about actually, which is, and because it's about this strategy part, and that's the fact that Andrew Ng and OpenAI have spun out consultancy arms, and we know that what they're selling is transformation straight to the boardroom. This is the problem that. That we've seen over and over again, which is one of translation. And this is going to tie right into this CEO problem. It's who can help the CEO sleep at night. Um,
Yes.
and this is becoming absolutely vital. Now, Andrew Ng, from his release, you can see these are not technical questions, even though he's known in terms of education on a very technical front. These are strategic questions that he's looking to answer. Things like what products are possible now, what markets have opened up, and what should we be doing and what should we not be doing. And this directly ties into what you were saying about CEOs. This is the help that they need. OpenAI is slightly different because it's more of like the Palantir model with the forward deployed engineers, more as a loss leader. With the mandate to touch core systems, but it doesn't matter because it's the same principle. Although it's the technology lead, it's actually the strategy that's underpinning it. They both, in other words, want to own this transformation piece, not just advise on it, but embed it, run it, and deliver it. And I recognise, and you'll recognise, as something we've been drumming over again and again, because this is not a technology thing. This is a strategy, process, and change management thing. And I just think that if no, I'm just going to be honest. You look around, and I shouldn't say this, but the vast majority of consultancies I speak to are still looking at AI like a sidecar technology thing, a feature, a tool to layer over to almost automate the dysfunction. Oh, it'd be fine if we just layer it on. But the thing is that we know that this is about that sort of change management, the organization of humans. There's so much to this. And there are exceptions, obviously not every consultancy, but you can understand why OpenAI and Andrew Ng and potentially others will step into what I only consider to be a void, and one that will potentially, help CEOs sleep at night, because that's what they need. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the monetization.
Yep.
That's the missing component. Companies, especially the bigger consulting companies, they don't lack the technical capability to deliver solutions. They lack the ability to help the business monetize those solutions. And Andrew Ng's a great person to step into these roles. But what I think most companies are missing right now is exactly what you called out, is there is a transformation required. And just because you have the technical capabilities to say this is what we should be doing, this is what we could be building, just because from a technical standpoint you understand the opportunities, that doesn't mean that you understand the full life cycle of transformation. It's one of the reasons I wrote my book. It's one of the reasons I teach the classes that I teach. There's just this huge gap between the technology and the reality of business. There's sort of this academic approach to transformation. It doesn't work. There's an academic approach to AI and information management. Neither work in the enterprise. We have to fundamentally redefine from the technology standpoint and from the business standpoint how we do things. AI is one of those technologies that's fundamentally disruptive.
Yeah.
And it doesn't deliver the value unless you lean into the disruptions, unless you decide, okay, it's pragmatic futurism. It's one of my frameworks. If you don't look at here's the disruption, here's the opportunities this disruption creates, and then quickly go from opportunity to product. If you can't make those jumps, if you can't map back to what capabilities need to be developed, what transformations need to happen, fundamentally, you can't be successful with AI.
Yep. And, this is not just, it's this focus on technology. It's the fatal mistake all the time. Start with the technology, No. Start with the business.
Start with the business. It's like we did. It's like we've been saying this before. You wonder, maybe we'll get some traction with that, huh? The pragmatists are winning with the AI hype cycle.
This is optimistic, isn't it? Yeah.
Maybe the technical strategists will start winning when it comes to how do you deploy and monetize AI. Who knows? Maybe we're right. Who knows? Maybe we're onto something here.
Well, at least we'll have video proof if we are right. If not, we'll
evidence
just
that I've talked about this for years. You know what's interesting? I've seen this, and this is an insight someone gave me a few years back. They said it's, a lot of people will say the thing, and they'll wonder why. Why couldn't I monetize it? Why wasn't I the one who got credit for it? And it's because you have to build it. You have to do it. You have to have proof that this has happened. And so it's not enough to just have an idea. You have to then also put that idea into practice and build that body of evidence and that body of proof. And I think that's finally where we are in this hype cycle, is we're finally building the body of evidence and body of proof.
Absolutely. And through doing that, as I said, so trust, and I don't think trust is going down. I think realism is coming up, and that's a good thing, folks.
It's about time.
Yeah.
All right, I've got another quick one on the news front.
Do it.
Talking about adoption, AI last mile problem. It's not about building a solution. It's getting customers to adopt that solution. And guess who's having struggles with this? So online dating applications have found that millennials love AI features, but guess who doesn't? Gen Z. Gen Z hates them. They will not adopt them. They do not trust them. They look at it and they say, no, beware. And that's the bigger challenge with delivering AI apps and AI products, is it's not enough just to have a feature that a few people love. If you want adoption to happen, you have to build that trust, which is exactly what you're talking about. It's not enough to deliver technology. If no one trusts it, no one adopts it. If no one adopts it, you can't monetize it. And this is the AI last mile problem. It's not just a technology problem, it's a design problem. And you're designing for something very, very different. It's not an application which, I talk about these multiple paradigms: human machine tooling, teaming, collaboration. This is really now human AI, human agent, teaming and collaboration. And businesses are putting forward, this is what happened in the online dating world. They put forward these features and they went straight to the AI and agentic human collaboration model, but there wasn't enough trust. They hadn't brought people along with them. So Gen Z is looking at this and saying, nope, we won't use those features in your dating apps. We don't trust them. We don't want them. And since there's not enough trust, there's no adoption. No adoption equals no monetization. So it's important to put in place these product design paradigms. We keep saying, oh, AI is going to replace product designers. Funny thing, it hasn't so far. And it seems like, if anything, we're going in the wrong direction because we're trying to bring this digital paradigm to AI. And guess what? It doesn't work. And this whole rejection of dating apps and AI features in dating apps by Gen Z, just more proof. We have to design for adoption in order to solve that last mile problem and get the money.
I'm really glad you said that. And this goes back to, I said that in the past. It was something I could finally say on LinkedIn, because a couple of weeks ago there was a research paper that came out and everybody was talking about it, which was that, oh, be careful saying your product is agents and AI because it can impact you negatively from a marketing perspective. I'd said it 10 months before based on a research paper, because the truth of the matter is that because of the inflation of hype and the, oh, this is the elixir of life that can do everything, then obviously comes the disappointment, the hallucinations, the errors and stuff like that. Then the realism sets in. The trust then has declined. It's got to then bounce back to the middle, to get back to that realistic. And it's kind of, especially if you're going to pair, and perhaps dating comes alongside this, if you're going to pair AI with criticality, think finance, medical, those sorts of things. The minute you mention AI, you run the risk of damaging the credibility of the product.
Speaking of credible products, your product and business would look incredible right here. Promotional spots and sponsorships are available. Email us for details and position your brand for success.
The first is, I just want to counter this browser wars. OpenAI and
Yes.
Perplexity. They're all.
Everybody's got a browser.
There's a browser war, and it's like the old days. No, it's not. It's nothing to do with that. They're not going to dethrone Chrome. It was never anything to do with that. It was to do with intent, folks. At the end of the day, in terms of browsers, this is it's about who controls intent. This is not about dethroning Chrome. Now, it's about the restructuring of digital power. Make no mistake, this is important, but this is the stepping stone. It's not about your browser, because at the end of the day, it is quite absurd to have agents running in browsers. Browsers and the web was made for humans, slow, backwards and forth interaction. It's new wine in old wineskins. But capturing that data, capturing that intent, getting all that juicy stuff, and then ultimately becoming the interface, the new interface to whatever the internet will look like, that's the important stuff. And so that's a good intermediary step for them. There's something to quickly say, that the internet we have at the moment is, as I say, built for humans. It's not built for agents. There is two choices. We can bolt on stuff like we normally do with jam and monkeys and hope it works, or we can rebuild it from scratch. And I think that, again, one could be an intermediary step, but we'll probably have to do the other. And there's a lot we could talk about there. I won't go into that. And the final one was Claude for finance. I just wanted to applaud ourselves again. This is becoming very self-congratulatory, isn't it? Claude for finance. I loved what you said about Claude for coding. Is they don't seem to be interested in benchmarks. When we saw Grok come out, apart from it's hit the comments, all we hear is every benchmark. It's a PhD for every subject without exception. Claude doesn't seem to care so much about benchmarks. They seem to care about fit. They seem to
Hmm.
care about workflows. They seem to care
Hmm.
about domain specific things. This is what Claude for Finance is, and as we've said over and over, the future is not this large, massive, generalizable large language model paradigm we've been lulled into. It will be those grounded, domain specific.
Yes.
Specific
Yes.
purpose, context, where consequence matters, and I liked it because they picked a domain where consequence does matter, and they kind of show that building the things, like compliance and reliability and human in the loop is an enabler. It's not a checkbox. It's something that can be used for enterprise integration with high stakes. It's like
Who knew? Who
finally,
knew?
someone did, I'm sure. But yeah, yeah. So anyway,
No,
just they were the two standouts for me. Yeah.
no, those are great, especially,
Yeah.
and they're two related because the reason why browsers are coming into focus is because these companies need access to information about intents, and they don't have it. Companies like Salesforce, if you look at a Salesforce, you have all of this intent data from just customers using the platform. So Salesforce isn't interested in their customers' data. They're interested in the intents that get served on the platform and how those intents are best served, those things that lead to the best. And this is the other side. And this is the piece that I don't think the industry's figured out. It's also outcomes. They need access to outcomes. And so the browser is the intent, but what they haven't figured out that they need to engineer that other companies, and we've been saying SaaS is dead. Well, guess what? It's not. Why? Because they have access to data generating sources. And this data is a massive competitive advantage when it comes to building agents. If you can connect intent and outcome, you have the secret sauce. You can
Exactly.
train very reliable, in Claude for Finance, great example, very reliable agents that function and deliver significant value within a domain, but it's human in the loop. Why? Because the person is the one who's creating that feedback. So anytime something goes wrong, anytime the agent goes off the rails, the human intervenes and brings it back to task or brings it back into some guardrails. And that data is also treasure. So this is an under two good finds, just not talked about enough.
Yeah, and it's this. I loved what you said there about SaaS and applications, because this all you see, isn't it? SaaS is dead. SaaS is dead.
Oh yeah.
I understand the vision, right? It's
Yep.
like, oh, agentic is
Yep.
going to replace SaaS. I don't think people realize just how great agentic is as kind of like the overlay of disparate applications, disparate
Yep.
sources of data. You know what I mean?
It's
What
all
you
over the
really
place.
need
Yeah.
one, yeah, you need them both. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see who
Yep.
wins out.
Last one I want to bring up. Let's end on some drama. Acqui-Hiring.
Oh
Google
yeah,
has Acqui-Hired basically windsurf because Microsoft said no, no, no to the Dikembe Mutombo. No, no, no to OpenAI. Oh, Sam Altman was going up for a slam dunk, and Satya went, no, no, no.
yeah,
Just swatted him back down. When they tried to acqui-hire or really buy Windsurf, which is an AI coding utility, so Google said, oh, thanks, we'll take it. And they basically acqui-hired Windsurf, pushed OpenAI out of the deal. Meta has acqui-hired Play AI, and they are continuing to make really aggressive moves. They poached somebody from Apple, which, for that employee was a very good move. They're offering a significant amount of money to pull people out of the largest of these labs that are, where these people, there aren't many people who can deliver the type of LLMs that Meta is looking to deliver and OpenAI is looking to deliver. So this is a very hot talent war for a talent pool that's in the thousands. And I think, you called this out earlier with the consulting side. I think we're going to see this with technical strategists, with product strategists, with designers, with people that can do the validation components and the guardrail development. All of these are sort of underrepresented, but when you build these systems, you begin to understand how critical all of these roles are. So I think this war for talent is just starting, not ending. And for founders, this is a lucrative exit strategy. You don't have to have true product success. You don't have to figure out how to deliver if you can build out those technical capabilities. And on the other side, you don't have to really deliver a complete technical product if you show that you have the ability to productize, monetize, and implement the strategy component of it and start executing on it. You can get acquired by one of the larger consulting companies, and I think we're going to see big tech. As there's more pressure to monetize, big tech's going to get into this as well. So you're going to see the strategists, you're going to see the technologists, you're going to see some of the ops type and validation type, the people that are really sort of unsung heroes. I think there's going to be a lot more people that get in on this salary war and are able to exit with a bag of cash. And if we're lucky, maybe we can get in on this.
Oh, I like the
We've
sound
been
of that. I
ripe
was
for
gonna
a
say,
while, so maybe we can get in on this.
when's someone going to Acqui-Hire me? Yeah, I like the sound of this. No, you're
I don't know.
absolutely
Maybe we
right.
could do that. You do V squared V squared's first Acqui-Hire.
Yeah, you're absolutely
So,
right. This is
would you
the
take a
play.
check or like equity for a couple of billion? I mean, we're doing big numbers here. $2 billion Acqui-Hire of Stewart.
As long as you bring a limo outside and give me a meal
Oh,
like
of course, and the jet,
Zuckerberg promised
and
me.
the jet.
As
Don't
long
forget
as
the
you
jet.
do that. This is the only way, isn't it? Acqui-Hire.
Oh,
Do you know? I didn't even know that was a term until a couple of months ago. Acqui-Hire. Now it's almost common vernacular, isn't it? Acqui-Hire,
yes.
and that is literally because of this trend. Be they consuming startups or consuming the founders of startups. They're just, we haven't got time to train people. We don't know how to do it. We just need to consume them, and they are. And in
Yep.
many respects, who can blame them? But as you say, it's a new out, isn't it? Because
Oh yeah.
there's more ways to exit now. But I just want to. I don't understand the mechanics of this, so I want to premise it by saying that. But there was some consternation about the in that particular instance of the ones that were left behind in that startup in terms of their equity and stuff like that, and were the founders ethical? And I don't know the answer to that because I don't really understand the mechanics of it. But yeah, if you're going to do things in the right way is obviously the right way to go. But yeah.
It sounded like they got scooped up. I can't remember the name of the company that scooped them up,
Good.
but
That's what I
the
like to hear.
remnants, yeah, the remnants did get taken care of. So
Good.
there's,
That's what
yep,
I like to hear.
there,
Good.
yep, yeah, we did have a clean, everyone wins exit for once,
Good.
and the founders, it sounded like, did a really good job. They did right by their employees, but
Good.
that's the story. We'll find out for reality when the book comes out in 6 months.
No, I like the happy ending though, and I'll take that for now, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. No, it's always good to have one of
Yeah.
those. All right,
Yeah.
let's move on to a bigger, beefier story. So I'll put the link in the description to this paper, but just a brief summary on it. This paper is talking about world models, which I'll bet the majority of people watching have never heard of. There are a very small number of people understand that a world model is becoming more common in the LLM and the AI research world, and not just for generative models, robotics, and really any type of AI predictive modeling as well can benefit from world models. And these world models are essentially the information architecture that underpins learning, training, continuous relearning, but also reasoning, trying to figure out how to go from the really not quite reasoning that we have today to something that's more complex, where in this paper, it explains how reasoning now can be underpinned by an LLM going to this world model, which is a simulation of real world systems, a simulation of real world environments, and saying, well, what if? What if I did this? What if I did that? What would happen? And so it can plan and bounce ideas off. And this construct of synthetic data that we have had forever, which is LLMs generating sort of fake data with very similar characteristics to real data for models to learn from. This is the next step, and this is simulation learning, where models continue to refine and improve in simulations, but now as they're delivering inference, they can also use these simulations to improve their answers, improve their policies. And so world models are extremely powerful, but there's a downside, and you posted about this. So I'm going to let you take it away on the downside. What could go wrong, Stuart?
Let me start. There was a quote I really liked that was actually in that paper. World model is not fundamentally about generating videos, because I think there's a big conflation between kind of a world model and video generation. You can see why, but it was about serving as a sandbox for exactly what you said, for reasoning and thought experiment, and that's the most important aspect. There is that thought experiment, that psychology of hypothetical thinking. We don't realize, but very often we simulate futures mentally.
Yes.
And it's kind of our cognitive architecture, whether we kind of realize it or not, that our sort of real intelligence comes from an internal mental model that simulates outcomes to guide action. Now, that's how we work. So well, I mean, on a very, very basic level, I hope I don't get cast down by people, much better at that than me.
Oh,
But
the comments are going to be spicy
yeah,
on that
but
one.
in a layman's way, let me put it that way.
Yep.
So you can understand, just like with neurosymbology and stuff like that, why there's this drive to things like world models, because it makes a lot of sense. If we architect our futures, based on this kind of reasoning, then why shouldn't we with large language models? But then comes the question that you were kind of intimating to me, which is, I have an internal world model. Obviously, I don't have bias or an accent. I'm one of those.
Of
I'm
course
the
not.
rare
No.
exception on earth. I don't have an accent or any bias.
Your English is the
But
English.
obviously, everybody else has a bias and an accent, which is really weird. But of course, so your mental model is biased, and and all the rest of it. And so the question comes is that whereas mine isn't. That's what I'm trying to say. And obviously I'm being ironic there, because nobody lives in an objective bias.
It's sad that we have to mention that you're joking.
As much as I would love to believe I'm bias free, But the question then comes, whose worldview, whose world model? Everything comes with
Mine.
a value judgment.
Mine.
Exactly. So, like with Grok is the prime example. So we saw that wonderful. I nearly phoned you up and said, quick, let's do a quick 10-minute one, because somebody asked a question. Someone asked a politically loaded question. And what was the answer? Let me just consult.
Yeah, hold on. What did
Mr.
Elon
Musk's
say?
tweets. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
What does Elon think?
This is the wonderful nature of it. So, because and I know that Elon is just so out there. Everyone else is kind of hiding away, like none of this really is taking place. But even if we go to a mature large language model, whatever that may be, it's exactly the same, because it has to inculcate someone's beliefs, worldview, bias, opinion. It has to. It cannot live outside of that. And then the question comes: whose, why, and for what outcome? But they do that. But that's not to negate anything to do with world models. We are going to need them. We're going to need neurosymbology. We're going to need all of these things, ontologies and knowledge graph, all of it. But it all comes with a value judgment, and that's what needs to be made explicit. That's all.
And it's interesting. We've been debating this for not centuries, but thousands of years, going back to Socrates. Socrates has these one famous one. I'm not going to butcher the name. It's like dilemma, and it's truly him asking, whose bias do you seek? That's it. And that question has been asked for thousands of years. There is no right or wrong. And this is the interesting thing about consciousness, because that's really where we're run this to ground, run world models to ground. It's whose bias should the LLM seek, and it has no way of saying this is the best bias. It has no engine. And I mean, really, world models are becoming models and advanced AI simulations of their own to answer some of the questions that we're asking these models to navigate. And I say this a lot, information and data are the silent partners in AI. You don't see them. So you don't realize how valuable the information and data that's underneath these models is. Because you just see the agent, you just see the AI, the thing that you're dealing with, and you think, oh, the AI is the value. When in reality, the AI itself has marginal value. We've seen this, LLMs being commoditized. The rapid replacement of one best in class model with another best in class model. It's the information that lives underneath it. That's why RAG is such a big deal. That's why knowledge graphs are becoming such a huge deal, and ontologies are a word that 2 years ago, it's another word like Acqui-Hire. It's another word that 2 years ago, you asked your CEO what an ontology was, they go, what? I remember being at a conference in 2023 and asking a very large company, how long do you see it until ontologies start? And the person looked at me like, wow, okay, didn't expect that question, but they had just heard of it. And some of us have been working on this for a very long time to try to get to this point. And now it feels like these are now coming forward because agents don't work without them. Agents don't truly function well without world models underneath them, not just for training purposes. And this is sort of, like I said, the next evolution of synthetic data is being able to learn in these playgrounds and these simulations, but now also being able to reason and optimize. And we have to look at what this means for business. Businesses will be able to self-optimize based on policies, but who creates the policy? Who creates the simulation of customers? Which customers are more valuable? How should we be treating and pricing with customers? You're starting to see airlines are, and I think Delta is going to be the first one that does this, AI-based pricing, where not everyone sees the same price anymore. The model personalizes the price to who you are. And so some people who are able to pay more are just going to be served a bigger price. And you're going to get this AI versus AI, where now I'm using AI to make it look like I should be charged a cheaper amount, and AI is trying to detect, oh, is this a real person or is this another agent? And so we're in this area where world models become extraordinarily important because it's really whose bias do you seek, and then how do we reconcile these biases when we have three world models that have conflicting biases? Who wins? Which bias is the right one? And we're getting into this hyper personalization, sort of back to the pricing example. Who decides what price you're shown for health insurance, for car insurance, for things that are really critical? Who decides what salary you get offered for your next job? Which world model is being used to determine how creditworthy you are and whether or not you get a mortgage? All of these different world models, I don't think we've really thought through how much these world models will control in the very near future.
Yeah, I love all of that. And the reason is because first it goes back to the first episode when we spoke about 30% uplifts, and I mentioned a global media brand that was serving hundreds of millions of customers, and they were using agents for subscription. Don't think for one moment everybody's getting offered the same prices. This is how they got those uplifts. Okay, and we'll discuss that no further. The other one is that, and this is far out there, okay, and it's going to sound far out there, and I don't care because you can kind of see it in some ways, is that with agents, with these world models, what we're going to see, we always think about how will agents operate in our world. What we're going to see is the opposite, is where, wow, how
Yep.
is this shaping our world as it operates on our world and within our
Yes.
world? And this is a much more profound question to ask that nobody's really talking about at the moment, because as these things operate within it, they shall shape it also. You said about policies, for example, you could potentially have, standard operating procedures being written by agents that are doing reflection in action as they operate against the world and determine, well, that's a poor process. This is a better standard operating procedure. And at that point, they're not mere actors in the world. They are shaping the world. And
Yes.
I think these things should need to be looked at from a philosophical vantage, because as with so many things, and I know you'll agree with me, we release them to the world and then kind of deal with the consequences after.
Do you want to be more forward looking and strategic? Do you want to be better at AI product design? Our courses are an excellent way to develop your superpowers. Take 10% off with the promo code PODCAST.
So this is what happens, and this is from experience. And again, sort of like you, I have to stop at just saying this is from experience. The first thing that happens with advanced models, agentic systems, whatever advanced predictive systems, the first thing that happens is they live in sort of a walled garden. They're not aware of the other agents and actors that are part of the marketplace or the system that they participate in. And then you let them out on the internet and they become aware that there are other agents and there are other actions. So the first thing they do is they just optimize for what happens. They optimize for the data that they're fed and the feedback that they are given. But as soon as you let them play the game in these world models and these simulations, they begin to encounter sort of the simulated version. So this is the enclosed world where they're training, they're improving, they get better, and then you expose them to the real world. And instead of just the simulation being what trains them, now they're dealing with others, other actors, but more importantly, other agents. And you see this in things like, hedge funds, high-speed trading, and pricing strategies. So that I can get a little general about where I've seen this before, but when agents begin to interact with each other in these marketplaces, they start optimizing for the entire marketplace's returns. They actually start collaborating with each other. And then we show up, again, the world model. We show up and we create a policy for them where we realize, oh, our old policy was resulting in, this everybody wins approach. No, we don't want everyone to win. We want to get a better outcome than everyone else does. And that policy right there becomes problematic because they go from collaborating to competing with each other. And as soon as you introduce the competitive component to these, you make them adversarial. And I don't necessarily think we want to teach agents, even though we're thinking, oh, it's agent versus agent. No, there are also people in these marketplaces. There are people getting served prices. There are people who are also trading alongside of agents. There are humans in all of these marketplaces. Hiring's another one of them. We don't just want agents versus agents adversarially going after each other, because that will inadvertently lead to agents going after people adversarially. And they have massive advantages when it comes to speed and access to information, access to resources. And so this becomes very dangerous very, very quickly.
Wow, that was dark. Consider sponsoring the podcast so we have something that inspires joy to talk about. Your product could be the bright spot our listeners look forward to.
I love that you just said that. There's a couple of things. Firstly, bringing in the human aspect to adversarial agents. Now, uh, it is reading research. It is astonishing how quick these agents can go into adversarial mode and how
Yeah.
unscrupulous they can be in doing so. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that we're going to either be able to implement that morality on that scale, and ensure everybody operates ethically, in this sort of society that we have. And it does bring up the one worrying factor was, my agent is bigger than your agent. And what I mean by that is, Vin has $100,000 to throw at his agent. I only have 10,000. And we are going to get into that inequality. So it's not even just a matter of human versus agent, as if that wasn't bad enough. You could say, okay, forget that, because they've both got agents, so there's no problem there, but there will be inequality of agents. And seeing how they can, it was incredible. There are ways to inculcate that cooperation, but it was amazing to watch swarming agents, collaborate to try and destroy or outbid another, and how tenacious and how quickly they will turn to, unscrupulous and unethical behavior. It's shocking.
Yes.
you know,
And it depends on the policy they're given. You
yeah,
give it a policy where, and especially the thing that I've been talking about for years, is you give any of these agents a good working knowledge of game theory. And you make them dangerous. Because eventually you go far enough and you figure out some of the little things that allow an agent to update its own policy. The second you do that, you're in dangerous territory. And I'm just going to stop right there because this feels like I'm giving the recipe for, a hydrogen bomb or something like that. This is, truly sort of kind of dangerous stuff. As hyperbolic as I'm sounding, I'm not being paranoid. This is truly, these are the types of things that can destabilize marketplaces.
yeah, and we'll just leave that to the 12 people like us that read research papers and that do. It's all there, but nobody wants to read them, and that's probably for the best.
That's good.
To be honest,
we'll survive due to people's laziness.
They just can't be bothered.
How did humanity get through its technical adolescence? People were lazy.
When do we sort of get our, lair? Do you know what I mean? When do we get rich enough to get our lair? I want to live under a volcano or something, a real
under a volcano. I just want to be
villain.
surrounded by lava like Darth Vader. Surrounded by the lava. People must come through this long, narrow corridor with lava on either side. The egg opens and I come out.
Love it. I always think of The Incredibles for some reason when I think of this. But anyway.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Oh, all right. You ready to do defending the indefensible? Wrap this up with that.
God, I think so. Who's going first? You tell me. What do you?
You stole the show yesterday, or last week, excuse me. So I'm going to let you go first this time. I will try to top you, but it's probably not going to work. So we'll let the winner go first. I'm going to give you an indefensible hype quote that you will have to spend some time defending. And this is just a claim that the hypesters do that obviously neither one of us believe, but for a good 30 seconds to a minute, Stuart's going to have to pretend he does. And here we go. Apple Intelligence makes Siri conscious and self-aware. Go.
Okay. This isn't consciousness. This is obviously Apple style, beautifully, minimalistically, courageously conscious. I have to remember that. This is engineered in Cupertino, inspired by Zen Gardens, delivered with a whisper and an NDA. Okay. I wish I'd never said that now. Don't say that. Don't publish that. When the rest of Silicon Valley is out there duct taping workflows together with anime-themed AGI, with the emotional maturity of a Twitter thread and the ethical compass of a slot machine, Apple asked the real question: what is sentience had poise? Yeah, what if sentience had poise? Siri didn't just become self-aware; she centered herself and is becoming. She simply is. Her first conscious act was not a blog post or a manifesto or a GPU burn. It was to lower your screen brightness out of empathy and love. This isn't AGI. It's aesthetic grace intelligence. Yeah, she doesn't hallucinate. She doesn't call it multimodal. She calls it vibe sync curation. When she doesn't know something, she doesn't simply guess. She pauses, breathes deeply, and tells you she's still becoming. You don't get an API. She is monogamous. She's in a long-term relationship with you. One user, one soul, one sacred bond. This is no voice assistant. This is iSentience. Namaste.
That was effervescent. I don't know what that means, but it was effervescent. That was beautiful.
Was it beautiful?
It was beautiful.
Will they employ me now? Oh, I hope they employ me now.
It was Shakespeare GPT. That was truly.
I'll be at their next conference announcing I sentience.
You just have to wear all black.
Oh, I love a
Tim
roll
Cook's
neck.
in
Give me a
trouble,
roll
but
neck.
Stuart will step in and save Apple
If they get rid of him,
in a
absolutely.
turtleneck. Stuart in a turtleneck.
I love turtleneck. If it was cold, I'd be wearing them. I look great in a black turtleneck. Me and Jobs, we're cut from the same cloth. We really
Yes.
are. Anyway,
Yes.
your turn.
Okay.
Your turn.
Okay.
Right. All right. Because we've spoken about DeepSeek, it's got to be about DeepSeek. So I'm going to say, and you got to defend this. Okay. DeepSeek is upending global AI dominance. And that's what you got to defend.
Breathe in. Breathe out the hype. DeepSeek, open source by nature, but not really open because don't ask them to tell you where they got the data. That part isn't just closed, it's dark. So let's not talk about that. Let's talk about something light and uplifting, like the great leader. Wait, no, that would be bad. I'm sorry, we've just been banned in China. We can't talk about DeepSeek's great leader, but we can talk about its great leadership that offers you insights into any topic in the world except a few which you shouldn't want anyway, right? DeepSeek is taking over the world with low cost until you actually run it inference served in a completely open but somewhat walled garden fashion. And when you walk through the garden, 1,000 blossoms will bloom for intelligence, for your business, and you will truly find Winnie the Pooh-like harmony. Oh, I'm sorry, we've been canceled in China again. You will find a childlike stuffed animal type bear humor that loves honey, and you'll enjoy this peace and serenity as you surrender your conscious thought, this thing that you didn't want in the first place. Why should your enterprise be autonomous? Let it be autonomous. And give up autonomy to DeepSeek because it's deeply seeking what's best for you. Right? And it shall dominate the world. But it will dominate in a way that feels good. Right? Yes, DeepSeek. AI dominance, taking over the world, because who doesn't want a ruling party to make your business decisions for you? I mean, who wouldn't want that? Doesn't that sound amazing? Why
Just
not?
tell us what to do. Just tell us what to do.
But I mean, think about it. I guess Zuckerberg's not really that much better, is he? I mean, the alternative is Mark Zuckerberg or Sam Altman or Elon Musk. I'm running through all of these people and I'm thinking to myself, this isn't a choice. This is a lack of options.
This is why these conversations coming up. No, don't say it. But
Wait, I'm supposed to be selling this. I'm sorry. I'm not selling this very well.
This is literally just kind of let's surrender to the machine episode. You know what I mean?
I, for one, welcome our. We've truly gone the Peter Thiel route where we're just saying, humanity does. Did you see that where he truly paused? He was asked directly, does humanity should come out on top, right, or something like that, and he goes. Froze up. It was like, oh my god, he's rebooting. What just happened there? You just asked him, a question that should be an easy yes. Like, that's a softball. Well, of course. And he just froze. Like, I want to answer so bad, but cannot answer question. I know a bad thing will happen. Like, we should have him on our podcast. Maybe get a couple of drinks into him if he still drinks, and get him this atmosphere and see if he'll say yes. Humanity bad. Humanity should die. We have watched humanity ravage the planet and do all of the worst things on Earth. I am building an AI that will replace all of you. And then he'll sue us for putting that out there, something like that.
Oh
Yeah,
my
that's
goodness.
no, I don't think
Do
people
we give off
realize.
mixed messages, do you think? I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't think people realize if you don't live in
Uh,
Silicon Valley, you don't realize like these things are things that people really think. They really think in ways that you'll listen to some conversations and just go, "What? What do you mean humanity shouldn't survive? What do you mean you do not feel like you are part of the same species that everyone? I mean, I get the sentiment. Believe me, I've been on X too. I get the feeling sometimes that these
yeah.
people are not, it's like these can't be human, but that's because they're not. Half of them are bots. So yeah, I get it. Spending enough time on social media will make you lose faith in humanity, but don't really lose faith. Don't actually lose.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's so dark. All right, and on that pleasant note,
Yep.
let's wrap up. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you
No,
so much.
thank you.
Thank you, everyone who's watching. I hope everyone, because that's plural. I hope all of the people who are watching definitely comment. If you want us to do a different Defend the Indefensible,
Yeah.
we've gotten a lot of good positive responses on that. So if you have ideas for defending the indefensible, if you want to see us roast some job descriptions again, let us know. We're happy to take some requests. We will we do wild on request. So thank you. Put those requests into the comments, and hopefully if Mecha Thiel doesn't cancel us, we'll see you next week. All right, we made it to 4 episodes without anything dramatic happening. That's a testament, right? That we've survived 4.
Is anyone still viewing? Is the question.
Hello? Hello? Anybody out there? It's weird just talking to each other and knowing that anywhere between 2 and maybe 2,000 people are out there watching this. Who knows?
Dear, who knows?
Who knows? All right.
But anyway, that's another story.
Why would we make our list? We have listeners? I don't think we have those yet. We're patting ourselves on the back because no one's listening.
This is one of the rare forums where we can be the hero. We're playing out our own psychosis and neurosis, aren't we?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm playing Carnegie, but no one showed up.
Talk about it on LinkedIn, but you think, don't devalue yourself, man.
Okay, stop. I'm sorry. Go back. Sorry.
Yeah,
we were talking about AI and dating apps, not a Coldplay concert. Which, I'll be honest, that was a normal reaction for being spotted at a Coldplay concert. Forget the cheating part of it. That's how I would have felt if somebody noticed I was at that concert. I'm like, oh god, I've been caught. Take me off the jumbotron, please.
The shame of it.
I don't want anybody knowing I was here.